All right, it's another round of Loud and Unfiltered, and this time we've got Paul McCoy of 12 Stones with us. We're going to be talking about their epic history, including, all their big hits, stuff that Paul's been involved in, recently. And we're also going to touch on some mental health. I feel that we are finally in a time, especially as men, where we can talk about our mental health. And especially for someone like Paul, that's got such a huge platform that he uses to address mental health. I think that's incredible. But first off, Paul, I appreciate you joining me today on Loud and Unfiltered.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so let's talk 12 Stones here. You guys, was it 5 or 6 albums? I think
We have
like
six albums, and 5 full albums and 2 EPs. So we're at 7 total
gotcha.
pieces.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, you've got a ton of music. You've got one hell of a library. Your songs, I mean, you can't. And even back when you guys first came out, I mean, it was just like you took everybody by storm. But being affiliated with so many sporting events or sports, I should say, TV, film, and such. Um, I mean, it's you guys definitely covered the globe. It was like one big blanket. What kind of feelings go through you either back then or now when you hear 12 Stones music that's being featured, whether it's TV, film, sports, or, even if you're, at the supermarket or whatever?
Yeah, honestly, it's still an honor and a privilege for me. I'm very fortunate that some music and stories from my life have kind of gone through and been used in certain different aspects. It's still a little weird at
Yeah.
times to kind of hear myself in certain situations, but it's still an honor. It makes me
Yeah.
appreciative and humble every time, just to be like, man, we're after almost 25 years, we're still getting some time.
Can you believe that? It's been 25 years. I'm not saying that in the sense of, can you believe that 12 Stones has been a relevant band for 25 years? I'm just talking about the amount of time. I mean, 25 years, that's a quarter of a century. And it seems like it went by like that because I remember when your first single was released.
Yeah, it's been quite a ride, and we did a lot for the first half of that 25
Yeah.
years, where we were pretty much living on the road, and just trying to make our way out there. And over the last several years, we've slowed it down quite a bit, but still trying to remain active and relevant, and
Yeah.
putting our artwork out there.
Now, let me ask you this, Paul. Again, we've got Paul McCoy of 12 Stones with us on Loud and Unfiltered. Um, First off, don't, with all due respect, this is not meant to be offensive. And I don't know if it came from y'all or just rumors, but back in the day, you guys were labeled a Christian rock band. So I mean, I don't know if that was from you guys. I know you guys are Christians that happen to be in a rock band, but I don't know if it was just like an actual label, kind of like how like Skillet or Thousand Foot Crutch adorns. But being a Christian rock band, did you feel like at that time, or even at any time, that it added pressure to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the plain and simple truth of it all is that
Yeah.
everything to do with this industry is a business. So our
Yeah.
record label saw that I wrote uh, religious undertones in my lyrics. We didn't
Yeah.
curse. We had positive message. They saw a way to be able to market our music into an untapped
Uh-huh.
market. So,
Mm.
I mean, at the time, our original time, we had band members that weren't Christian, and we have guys that have from all walks of life and all different
Right.
faiths and lack thereof in certain
Yeah. Yeah.
situations. So it was kind of it was weird for us because we never set out to do anything like that, and we always said that if someone gets a message from our music and it
Hmm.
reaches them on a spiritual level, like I'm great with that. I love that. And, whatever
Right.
gets the brain thinking. But if
Yeah,
that same
yeah,
song reaches someone else and it has no religious undertones to them at all, that's also great. We want people to
right.
hear our music and let that music be what it's supposed to be for that person. Everybody is different. Everybody has different ideologies and taste and processes. So I don't
Yeah.
want to rule anybody out. And if our music reaches anybody at all, that's what it's about for us.
Well, I'll tell you, your music has and is still reaching millions of people across the globe. I'll be honest, Broken and Adrenaline are my top two, but
Nice.
that doesn't mean that the others are weak or inferior. It's just that
Sure.
those are two that are on my lifetime playlist.
Nice.
12 Stones is one of five bands that I've got multiple songs on my lifetime playlist.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
Take that.
it was like we kind of came up together because like you mentioned earlier, 25 years ago, I was a few years into my radio journey, so I guess so to speak, still wet behind the ears. You guys are getting started, and so I definitely could relate and still can relate to to your music. One thing you pointed out though is that it about the connection to the music. It doesn't matter, how they get that connection, but it's great that they get that connection. Have you ever heard somebody misrepresent one of your songs, like say in the press or something, where they say, this song is about this, and you're like, no, there's nothing like that. I mean, has that ever happened?
Not really so much because, like I said, I want people to be able to interpret the music how they see fit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If again, when I was coming up, my mom would always say like, "You're not ever going to make everybody happy." So I
Yeah.
know that there's going to be plenty of haters out there, and there'll be plenty of people that misinterpret it. But I mean, that's what it's there for. It's to be interpreted. It's to be
Yeah.
how it affects you. I mean, somebody might be going through something and
Mm,
hear the same song as someone
yeah.
else, and it mean two totally different things. Could be about two
Yeah.
totally different things. And I read in an interview once that Eddie Vedder answered the question saying, "The song's about whatever it's about to you. It's not. It's not. It's my job to maybe create the music and the lyrics, but it's your job to interpret it. It's your job to let it affect you how it should affect you." I think music is powerful
Wow.
and in all ways. There's some songs that just make you happy. There's some songs that
Yeah.
make you think and kind of go into a darker space, and
Yeah.
so it's up to you. It's up to you what the song is about. Honestly, once it's out of our hands, I'll always know what
Yeah.
they're about to me. But I
Yeah.
like to
Yeah.
keep those with me.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what makes those songs special, because when a songwriter like yourself can draw from personal experience, be it good or bad, draw from their own emotions, you really hear that authenticity in the music. And 12 Stones, definitely no exception to that. You truly hear the authenticity in your music. Um, you mentioned, again, 25 years since 12 Stones came out. It's a long time. You've learned many lessons. What's what would be probably the greatest lesson that you've learned in that time?
Man, to just always be striving to be better, and not
Yeah,
just musically, but just in life. I'm learning a lot more as I've gotten older to slow down a little bit and to try and process things and enjoy the moments. Um,
right.
I've kind of gotten spoiled in the sense that I got a record deal when I was 19. I started touring the world
Yeah.
with my best friends, and so now as I've gotten older, everything seems boring. Everything seems uneventful, and it's kind of in that like not trying to come off as like ungrateful or unappreciative, but it's like
Yeah,
you fly overseas one time on coach, and then the next time you fly first class, you don't ever want to fly coach again. It's like I've done
yeah,
all these high adrenaline, played big festivals, played big shows, so many cool things that I've gotten to experience that now it takes a lot more to get me to go, oh, what is that? Okay, so,
yeah.
I think for me, I would go tell younger me to slow down a little bit and just enjoy every minute while you've got it.
It's I appreciate you saying that. That means the absolute world to me. Recently, where I'm from, our area lost a legendary radio DJ, and a lot of us local DJs got together and went to the studio of of that deceased DJ and joined his old partner on the morning show. And that was kind of it seemed to be the most constant message as we're sharing stories about Doc. It seemed to be that the most common thread was, stop and smell the roses. The simplest things in life are typically the ones that you really should focus on the most and give the most attention to. So, I mean, I'll tell you right now, it just you saying it's just crazy how things work out. You got God, you got the universe, you've got, the energy, everything, regardless of faith, everything works together in certain ways. So thank you so much for, for making that statement. That does mean a lot. Um,
Absolutely.
Paul McCoy of 12 Stones with us right now on Loud and Unfiltered. And, if you've been online lately, you probably have seen that Paul and Scott Bartlett of Saving Abel did an acoustic tour. You guys went all over and everything, and performed some songs by Saving Abel and some songs by 12 Stones. I unfortunately did not get to see any of these shows, so I don't know what the exact playlist was like. But uh, how cool was that, man? That's pretty neat that you get these two big rock stars from different bands, but that came up together. Kind of. I mean, you guys were ahead of us, Saving Abel, but experiencing a lot of the same times together. That must have been a pretty cool tour.
Yeah, honestly, we have a lot of little connections between 12 Stones and Saving Abel.
Yeah.
We both use Skid Mills, the producer.
Uh,
He's just a phenomenal guy, great producer. And Saving Abel's from Memphis. Our old
mhm.
guitar player, Justin Reimer, is from Memphis. So we did a lot of recording in Memphis, and we crossed
Yeah.
paths a ton. A lot of those kind of mutual things, and we've done a lot of touring with Saving Abel over the years. And so I got to a point where I was working a 60-hour a week restaurant job.
Yeah.
I found out I had melanoma, so I decided in that moment that I didn't want to work for somebody else anymore. And
Right.
it's like, if we don't know how
Yeah.
long we have left, let's just not slave away, 60 plus hours a week, and then have nothing from myself, no energy, for
Yeah.
here at home, no passion, no fire to pick up a guitar or do anything. So I made the choice to quit my salary job and dive back into the art. And it's been terrifying. But Scott, as soon as I made the post about it, Scott messaged me and said, "Hey, dude, let's get you back on a stage." And
Yeah.
he messaged me within like probably 5 minutes of me making that post and said, "We
Wow.
got to get you back out there." So we worked it out, and we brought my rhythm guitar player John Rodriguez,
Yeah.
and the three of us went out and did just a variety. We did some covers. We did about half and half, 12 Stones and Saving Abel, and did some of my originals, some of Scott's originals, and we just
Yeah.
we just went out and had a good time for a few months.
That's cool. Oh, one other thing, a connection between the two bands you didn't mention was you both had Mike McManus play drums for you at certain points.
That's
So
right. That's
yeah,
right.
that's pretty cool, man. It's
Yeah.
awesome to see all the Southern boys,
Yeah.
kind of form a band of brothers, man. That's cool.
That's right. I had forgotten Mikey played for them for a little while, and then he went to Scott's staff as well.
Oh, that's right. I
Yeah, he
forgot
went and
about
played for
that.
Scott. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, he when I saw last time I saw Mikey, he was right after he left Saving Abel, and he was actually doing some radio promo work for a short period of time before he went to Stat. But man, that's years and years and years ago.
Yeah,
So if you happen to run into him or talk to him, tell him I said hi. Um,
definitely will.
Paul McCoy of 12 Stones with us on Loud and Unfiltered a minute ago. You mentioned getting back to your art. While music is your primary form of art, you also use other art as an outlet, specifically painting, like you could see on your back wall right now. I'm assuming those are all yours.
Yeah,
Those
these,
are all
these
yours.
are all these are all my latest pieces.
Those are
I
awesome.
got a little guy over here. It's already sold. I just got to get it shipped out. So we'll
Oh,
pretend like that's
badass.
already been shipped out. Brian already shipped it. Don't worry. Um, but yeah, I've been honestly, once I quit the job and I decided to get back into it,
Yeah.
I've just been kind of been down in a hole, and I've just kind of been not sure what direction to go in. So I one day my ADHD was like, "Here's your next hyper focus. This is what we're gonna do."
Yeah.
And I went to Michael's and spent a whole bunch of money on canvases and paints and all kinds of stuff. And I just started doing it for myself, kind of as like a
Cool.
therapeutic release. And then I just posted some pictures of them, and people started really, really liking them. And then people started wanting them, and I was like, oh, I just was kind of not even thinking about it like that. I don't consider
Yeah.
myself the type to draw a stick figure very well, but I
Right.
think art is an expression, so it's another
Yeah.
way for me to kind of put myself out there. And some of the pieces, honestly, were I liked them. I was like, I can't, I don't know if I want to sell it. It's kind
That's
of like
awesome.
my hyper focus was on it. I'm like, oh, I just really like this one particular piece, and now I like
Yeah.
that one. So I have them here hanging in my little home studio.
It'll look
They're all
awesome.
they're all available except the one that I already shipped.
Yeah. Okay, and so find look for Paul on social media if you're interested in his art, and he's got more than that. Paul also does. Speaking of your art and kind of getting personal with with the listener, the fan, and such. You also do from time to time handwritten lyrics, lyric sheets, and that you'll. So man, definitely hit up Paul. Look for whether it's his musical art or his other forms of art. He's definitely a badass artist. I'm really,
Thank you.
I'm, I've got ADHD as well, and I've been trying to find that outlet, and eh, I can't. I really, there's nothing artistic about these hands. I'll do something and it's terrible. So it really does take a special person to lay some art on the canvas. And so, man, that's badass. I'll be ordering some pieces from you as well.
Right on.
Um, I'm assuming that maybe the ADHD and some of those highs and lows you were talking about as far as being on the road, going from first class to coach and back, and then of course being used to the tour bus life, the rock star life. Pretty good start as far as what it had been hitting your mental health.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. It feels like when you ride the high for so long.
Yeah.
I got sober 7 years ago, and that is
Congrats.
great. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I definitely put in my time
Yeah.
on the other side. I partied enough for 20 lifetimes, so I'm not
Right.
missing anything there. I'm happy that I've gotten those things under control, but you don't realize until you give up all those things that
Yeah.
how reliant you've become on them over the years. So if I'm on tour back in the days, I would drink a handle of vodka every night,
Yeah.
uh,
Wow.
a 12 pack of Red Bulls to mix it down, and whatever else was around.
Wow.
If it was in there, I was going to get to it. And then, but when you're not on tour, like you do a show, everyone's like, "Man, what a great show! I'd love to do a shot with you." I'm like, "I would love to
Yeah.
do a shot with you." And then you look, and behind that person's 10 other people that will also
Yeah.
want to have a shot with you, and then you feel not a sense of obligation, but a sense of like the Southern gentleman in me is like, it would be
Yeah.
rude not to, right? So then that
Yeah.
becomes that habit, and then that becomes an easy transition. Breaks down some social barriers and makes the conversation flow a lot easier. And then when I get home from tour, there's nobody lined up to do shots with me, but my brain and my body is like, "Where's our shots?
Oh.
It's this
Yeah.
time." So I would just continue living the way I was living, and then when I would go back out on tour, it was just constantly trying to keep chasing the dragon. Just always trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
you know get to that feeling of just total exhilaration. And
Yeah.
you never catch it back up as many times as you want to try. It's something I've found that I'm never going to be able to catch. So
Yeah.
once I got sober, I had to relearn everything. I had to relearn things I liked, things I didn't like. I still struggle with leaving my house a lot of days because I have a lot of triggers, and my triggers are not anybody else's responsibility. So I instead of me going out and being like, you and you and you and you and I just stay here with my dogs
Yeah.
and my fiance when she's here, and yeah, I just deal with the things as they come, as I can deal with them. So
Yeah. It's first off, I'm glad you said that as far as, it's not anybody else's responsibility, to deal with our triggers. I myself am 2.5 years sober. So,
congrats.
I definitely can relate. And that was why I mean, don't get me wrong. You're like a hero of mine. I've been a 12 Stones fan for 25 years now. So
Right
talking
on,
to you is badass and
right
talking
on.
12 Stones is badass. But, I really do think that opening up that conversation about mental health is so much more important than than sitting there and just idolizing your hero. I can idolize you in a different way that's supportive of the mental health community. I mean, you've got there are artists, Jacoby from Papa Roach, Matt Brooks from Like a Storm, Jarrett from Bowling for Soup, Caleb from Beartooth, Paul McCoy from 12 Stones. Sobriety, mental clarity, mental health is so important to these guys, and they're all using their platforms to make sure that people understand how important it is, not only for themselves but for everybody else. And talking about it is, what was it? It was a just, I mean, obviously the era that we, grew up in where you just didn't talk about it. I mean, but I don't understand why it was so effing taboo to talk about mental health, because you've got so many people, and I'm going to say not just so many, I'm going to say people like me struggling on a daily freaking basis. Like you said, there are so many days that it's just so much easier to stay home, to stay out of the way because of anxiety. And there are many times I feel like I am in the way. And it's we gotta be able to make a change to where people can actually just open up, talk about it, address it, and let's see if we can't come together and help each other, lift each other up, instead of continuing to kick people down like you see on social media all the time.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to me. I respond to a lot of trolls on the internet. I have nothing but time these days, it seems, and honestly, for me, it's so much easier to just keep scrolling
Yeah,
than to try to pull somebody down, or like to try to, like, you know talk trash about someone's art, whether it be
yeah,
music or anything. It's mental health in my mind is like, so I was born in 81. So for me,
hmm,
I was that Ritalin generation, but
yeah,
I just missed that. So I was
yeah,
just too old to really be diagnosed with any like childhood can't pay attention issues.
yeah, yeah,
Everyone in our generation just thought we were kids. They were like,
yeah,
"You're just a hyper kid. Go burn that energy in the yard." Like, I grew up
yeah,
in Mississippi, and we would just go out in the yard and play till it was dark, and it was just like,
yeah,
I never realized that I had any of these things. It wasn't that they were misdiagnosed. It was a generational thing, to where it was just like, man, rub some dirt on it. You fell over, go
yeah,
out and rub some dirt on it. You'll be all right. And now, as I've gotten older, I look back and I realize that, like, certain childhood traumas that were like, not to be blamed on anyone. I had a great
yeah,
childhood. I have a great family, a great support system, but there were still things that happened in my life
yeah,
that created this current version of me. And I'm just now realizing that, like, stuff that I thought was maybe normal wasn't, and maybe things that should have been caught medically weren't, things like that. And
yeah,
now I'm looking back going, man, I just didn't realize I had all this unfinished business. So to be able
yeah,
to look back at it now and try to not cover it up and just bury it in the yard, to actually look at it and go, okay, what is this though? Like,
yeah,
why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like nobody else that owns a car knows how to use it? You know what I mean? What is it that makes me feel like I can't be in traffic? You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's just one of those things. I have to start breaking every little piece of the puzzle down,
Yeah.
and I've started. I've done it all from therapy to talking to people to I'm just now starting to where I'm seeing some doctors and trying to get some medication going. To it's 2024, man. We got to
Yeah.
embrace the things that are at our disposal instead of just being, well, I'm too old for that now, or
Yeah.
at this point, what's it worth? What does it matter now? Like, I don't know how many years I have left, but I don't want them
Yeah.
to suck. I don't want them to
Yeah.
suck. I want them to be good years. So right now, everything sucks, and it's not
Yeah.
because my life is bad. It's just because my brain doesn't allow me to think things are okay.
Yeah.
Everything worst case scenario, everything I overthink chronically. If I have time to myself, I'm between the ears, and it's never good because
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
always going to be
Oh
like,
man.
somebody could compliment me, and I'm like, what did that mean though? Like,
Yeah.
why did they say that just to, and it could be something that's like holding a door for someone and them not acknowledging it. I'm like, oh, okay, okay, all right, dude, all right,
That's one
yeah,
that
like you're
man.
welcome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
I don't hold the door to get the thank you, but when I hold the door and it doesn't happen, then my brain's like, well, that's kind of messed up because
Yeah.
I would have said thank you. Why didn't you say thank you? Do I not deserve a
Exactly.
thank you? And then and nobody's having this conversation with me. I'm just staring at the back of this guy's head now,
Yeah.
mad as can be for nothing, all because I
Yeah.
held the door. It's like those kind of things have to slowly unravel, and we have to unlearn those behaviors. And that's been the biggest challenge for me, is being smart enough to know there's an issue, but
Yeah.
dumb enough not to know how to fix it, and
Y-
being okay in that gray area.
You know, that makes a lot of sense, being okay in that gray area, because there is a lot of gray area to life, and none of us are perfect, so we don't have all the answers. So being okay in that gray area while you navigate and try to, like you said, unravel things is, I think that's something that we don't accept enough. I mean, we've gotten to the point of, we're an instant gratification society. So if something is not immediately, what satisfies that hunger or taste, then it's not okay. And then of course, that's where like start overthinking things, then getting angry, and then going through all these different emotions. Meanwhile, the world around us is just going on like nothing, like normal. And, fighting that chaos and dealing with that chaos is, man, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. How do you not pick up the bottle again?
Um, because I deserve more than that. Like, it was an easy way for me to just
Yeah.
numb it up and not have to deal with anything. And for me now, I know that I'm incapable of having a drink. I'm
Right.
incapable of, like, I could go 6 months and not have a sip of anything, even when I was
Yeah.
drinking. But if I have one, I'm having it all. And then I'm going to come see what you got next door. And then we're going to go to your friend's house, and we're going to just make the block until 4 or 5 days goes by and my body shuts down and I'll reset and do it again. So
Yeah.
that horrifies me. We're not, maybe about a year after I got sober, I moved to Nashville, and I was working for a company that did building the stage and lighting at Bridgestone Arena for big concerts to come in. So
Hmm.
I was still doing music stuff, but I was
You're
on
right.
the behind the curtain, and it
Yeah.
was nice. But I worked a lot of overnights, so there'd be nights where I would come home, my fiance would be asleep, and I didn't realize, like, the little things, like staying up and partying and drinking and going, being an idiot for days on end. Now, like, the sound of morning birds,
Yeah.
it sends me like an anxiety attack, because I heard so many
Wow.
morning birds through my years of partying and never going to sleep, and just always looking for
Yeah.
the next person that wanted to hang out, and always had to be the center of attention in every
Yeah.
situation, no matter. People are like, dude, it's
Wow.
Tuesday at 4 a.m. And I'm like, yeah, where are we going? And it's like, nowhere. We're going to go to sleep. And so
Yeah.
I didn't realize how many times I'd heard the morning birds. So I
Wow.
literally had just like a whole anxiety attack from listening to the morning birds in Nashville one day. And I was like, man,
Wow.
what planet were you on? And like,
Yeah.
let's never go back
Wow.
there. So I know I'm
Yeah.
incapable of having a social drink. It's just not a thing. And I have a lot of friends
Yeah.
and acquaintances that don't understand that. They're like,
Yeah.
we'll just go out once a week. Just have some
Hmm.
drinks on a Friday. I'm like, Friday is a week long thing for me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have a Friday. It's Fry week, and then it's
Yep.
Saturday week, and then it's Sun
Yeah.
week, and it's a thing that
Rinse and repeat.
I don't
Yeah.
my brain doesn't allow me to just go like, oh, medium, okay, medium, and
Yeah.
then that's with anything.
Yeah.
If I started playing poker years ago, and as soon as I started playing poker, I bought all the books, I watched all
Yeah.
the shows, I was getting all the behind the scenes. I found I'm just 100 miles an hour. If it's something I'm into, I'm hyper focused
And
on it,
bam. Yeah.
and then eventually I'll wake up one day and be like, I don't want to do any of that anymore, and then I move on to the next thing. So
Yeah.
realizing that that's not a normal thing,
Yeah.
it's helped me go, okay, well, I know I'm in a hyper focus right now. I know I'm in this mode right now. And my fiance
Gotcha.
laughs at me all the time. She's like, I wonder what's going to be next. You know what I mean? Like, what's going to be your next scheme, your next thing, So
Yeah.
I'm learning to just figure out who I am again. And it's taken some time, and I'm not
Yeah.
rushing it. I'm just going to keep trying to wake up. My dad always said every day above ground's a good day. So I
Amen.
try to make that mantra and run with it.
And it really is about just stacking the days, one step at a time. All that stuff sounds so cliche, but it
Right.
really is so important in the journey of an addict, because you have to think that, you have to constantly be focusing on that, because I'm not an ex-alcoholic, I'm not an ex-addict, I'm just an addict that's not getting fucked up every night. And so keeping that focus on that, man, it's super important. And I, like you, I can't have just one. It took me forever to realize that. Like you, I had to be the center of attention. Alcohol allowed that. The old liquid courage, and
Yep.
man, the lives that I hurt. I mean, it's embarrassing to think about, but it's humbling, but it's also exciting, because I've never thought about that before. I've never been at the point where I could look back at it. I've never
Yeah.
been at the point where it wasn't part of my life, and now it it isn't part of my life, and I'm like, wow, man, that's what gratitude really feels like. It's a cool
Mm.
feeling.
Well, I also
It's
realized that through the years, people have had a different experience in the same
Yeah.
situation with me. So there's
Oh
times where
yeah.
I was super drunk and whatever else, and I had the time of my life, and maybe at a party or something. But then
Yeah.
years go by, and I have conversations with people, and I'm like, oh yeah, I met you at this time, and those people did not have the same fun experience with me that I had with
Yeah.
them. But I was too, messed up to notice I
Yeah.
was having the time of my life. So I just automatically assumed everybody in my general vicinity must be just loving life right now.
Yeah.
And they were not. And it's like you go back and go, wow, people can have a different perspective of the same situation and it be polar opposites. Like I had
Yeah.
people that I thought were like going to be good buddies, and they're like, you were a train wreck. I don't want to hang out in those scenarios. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, well, I thought we had a good time. And they're like, no,
Yeah.
no, you did. You had a great time. So
Yeah.
I'm having to learn, like I'm really trying to hone in and like step out of myself sometimes and
Yeah.
try to see different perspectives. And that's a hard thing to do. I'm usually, a million miles an hour in one track mind, but to try to really step back and be like, well, if I was having your part of this conversation, would I still be having this much fun? Would I still be,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I have to see how someone sees me sometimes instead of how I want to be perceived,
Yeah.
because they can be very different things.
My boss always says that, perception is reality, because, somebody's perception of you or of something, that is their reality in their eyes. Whether it's true or false, that
Right.
is still the reality. And I don't know, for myself at least, I guess I kind of got blinded by my own arrogance that I never noticed other people's reality of me. And boy, the apology tour I took after I decided to sober up, man, I'll tell you what,
Yeah,
it was like being on a roast or being at a roast on Comedy Central, but you just don't have the funny comedians telling the jokes. It's just
right.
like everybody telling you how big of an ass you've been, and it but for me at least it's necessary. I've finally gotten to the point where I can embrace hearing those stories. It's because that's, that at some point it stopped. Something switched in me where I'm like, I can't be that person anymore. So I am grateful for the journey I've been on and the life lessons that I've had. But I'll tell you right now, some of them I just kind of wish were a little bit softer on me, because this old growing old ain't for sissies, Paul.
You're not wrong, my friend. I know that. There was a period. I don't remember the exact tour. I don't remember those exact few months, but there was a tour we did that I woke up every morning and I would walk in the back of the bus, and the rest of the band would be sitting there just mad dogging me hard, and I would just go around the room like, "What did I do? I'm sorry,"
Oh, yeah,
because everything was meant to be funny, but
yeah,
but it was only funny to me because I was the only one in on the joke of whatever it was. Most of it would have been forgotten. But like these are like some of my closest friends, and I'm just like taking advantage of their kindnesses, in those moments.
yeah,
And so I now looking back, I have to. I still see other people,
yeah,
and I'm man, how are you? You know what I mean? It's just
yeah,
like
yeah.
a whole different thing. I tend to just keep to myself these days in order to not have to do another apology tour.
Yeah, it's a lot easier just to keep to ourselves. And we both have some pretty severe ADD, so or ADHD or whatever letters you want to throw in there. And this is where mine takes over. I just thought of something based on something you said about 5 minutes ago. That's
Right on.
ADD, y'all.
Yeah.
The two words you put together could either be a new album title or a new song title. Unfinished business.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We got
My ADD is just going crazy in there, and then I was just like, okay, with trying to fight off all the other little ADD demons. I was like, just tell Paul, unfinished business, get it out of your head.
Yeah, I know that feeling all too well. So yeah, absolutely. I'll start a conversation with my fiance and she'll answer
Yeah,
me. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "You just asked me a question." I'm like, "I did? Oh, all right." So yeah, the years of having fun is kept slowly catching up to me. Where I'm just like, I don't remember at all what you're saying. So
oh, that's great. We've talked about some, some dark stories and maybe some bitter memories, be it for others or ourselves and everything. But with the storied history of 12 Stones, there's a lot of great memories as well. What are maybe one or two that just at the top of your head, if you were to never step on the stage again, what are some of the ones that you just like, yes, I did that. That was me. That was us.
uh, honestly, just like the live shows for
Yeah.
me, that was what it was all about. I truly believe to this day that at points in our career we had a lineup that I would put up against anybody in
Yeah.
stage presence and just live energy. We learned from some of the greats like Seven Dust
Yeah.
and some of those guys that are just like untouchables in the touring world of just humility, talent,
Hmm.
energy, respect, all the things. They never had to do anything nice for us, and they always treated us like equals, even
Yeah.
though we all knew we weren't. And so there's been some moments that I remember just looking around left and right and looking at the guys while we were doing our thing and just being like, yeah, man, this is what we're
Yeah.
supposed to be doing.
That's
So
awesome.
I definitely miss those moments of
Yeah.
cranking it up to 11 and and leaving it all out there. So I remember one of the shows at the House of Blues in New Orleans. It was one of the maybe the second time we sold it out.
Yeah.
The curtain was up and we were stretching and getting ready, and fist bumps, and we always had a word of the day. It would be something that maybe happened throughout the day. It would be our 1, 2, 3, and we would just say whatever the phrase was. And
Yeah.
we were doing all that, and then we didn't know they were ready, and the curtain dropped, and the noise that came from the crowd, I've never felt anything like it in my life. I've chased that
Wow.
sound for 20 years, but it sounded like a freight train was coming at us. Like I'm a musician. I stand in front of speakers all day long. I literally was like, what is happening? And I realized it was the energy. It was the room. It was the screams. And I
Wow.
was like, and I just remember being like, oh, okay. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's all it took. I chased that for 20 years. I chased that sound. So yeah, I would say playing live and having those moments where I'm like, opening up for Creed in arenas and being like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to make these 40,000 people. I'm
Yeah.
going to make them all into a basketball. And when I do this, everyone's going to jump. And just having 40,000 people jumping at the same time is like, I feel at that moment, it's an abuse of power. It was like,
Yeah.
felt like a sultan of sorts. We were like, and we all jump and we all fall and we jump and we go. And it's the world's biggest game of Simon Says. And everybody's a winner.
And it's funny that you brought that up, because I literally was going to use basically your aerial routines from your live shows for my next question, because you guys, I mean, I don't know if you guys were ever gymnasts and stuff, but man, y'all caught air like every other second throughout your entire show. Did you have any big injuries? Because I can't imagine at least not getting shin splints, because I've seen you catch air. You must have, at your prime, must have had like a 40-inch vertical leap, because there have been many times you were catching Jordan air.
Yeah, it was honestly before music. I played soccer my whole life, and
Ah.
I was constantly running. So I could jump for days back when I
Yeah.
was running. Now I had a knee injury recently from nothing. I did nothing, and I went and like I got a whole knee brace. I did nothing. I don't have a cool story about it. And I go
Wow.
back and watch these videos of me at 20, 22 years old, and I'm like, that kid is crazy, man. There's like
Yeah.
no way I could fathom that anymore. But Kevin used to have his big Jinko jeans, and he'd kick his legs up behind his head, almost kicking his ears with his own feet. And I'm like, we called him Gumby, from like the old cartoon
Yeah.
back in the day. So he had those Gumby legs that would just be kicking up by his own ear. So it was wild. Yeah, we were all cartilage and stupidity back in those days.
Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. And the fact that you brought the Jinko jeans up, I mean, that was the era. That
Yeah.
was definitely the era. It,
I shared a video the other day, and we had the Gadzooks, like metal ball chain
oh,
necklaces,
yes.
and like the spiky hair and the big
Yeah.
jeans, and like we had the rock accessories, like a ring on each finger and every bracelet that they sold. The Gadzooks.
That's awesome. Oh, I miss those days. I mean, everything seemed to be simpler back then. One
Right.
last question, and I'll let you go, Paul. And it kind of has to do with a then versus now. What's the biggest change you've seen in the industry? Is social media has that been the biggest change, or what do you think is?
I think the attention span of the consumer has disappeared. I think,
Yeah.
much like I was touching on earlier, nothing excites anyone anymore. I sat
Yeah.
at lunch with my fiance a little while ago, and we were at a restaurant I used to work at, and we were sitting in a little room, and there was probably 6 straight country songs that came on,
Yeah.
and you couldn't convince me it wasn't the same song. So it's easy in my mind to spend all these hours and effort and time and energy to make these songs. It's just going to be a cookie cutter replicated by somebody that
Yeah.
says, "Oh, what's Morgan Wallen doing? He's the popular thing right now. Let's make
Yeah.
17 other Morgan Wallens. Let's get
Yeah.
a good looking young guy and give him some twangy lyrics talking about a girl and a whiskey, and then we're going to move on with it." So I
Yeah.
feel like the accessibility, like in our day, when a new song came out or a new album came out, we went and bought the album. We read it cover to
Yes.
cover. I knew who produced it. I knew where it was recorded. I knew every band member's name. I knew where they came from. I knew their
Yeah.
stories. Now you just scroll, scroll, scroll. Oh, what's that? Oh no, I don't like that. What's that? That,
Yeah.
that, that. And then you're just scrolling past people's lives and their efforts
Yeah.
and their stories, and we're just keep going back into the same old thing. There's
Yeah.
a handful of bands that I'm like, oh, okay, I'm listening. I got you. What is that? And
Right.
then I try to find those bands instead of just if I guess two answers to what band it is and I'm wrong, man, bands
Now,
used to have their thing, used to have their sound, and now I just feel
yeah.
like I'm not even trying to say we were unique. I mean, we're three chords in a dream. If I'm writing the song, it's probably going to be in a waltz timing. It's going to be in a weird minor chord, and it's going to be sad. And that's my thing. That's the songs I write. Yeah, I
Yeah.
used to be able
Yeah.
to listen to it. You could play me a song, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's this band. Oh, that's definitely
Yeah.
this band." You can hear an Alice in Chains song. You can hear a Pearl Jam song. You can hear
Yeah.
a Creed song. But now it's like a lot of the newer bands. I couldn't.
Yeah.
You give me multiple choice, and I'd be like, "Oh man." I don't know. I
Ye-
don't know. I think technology and attention span is what's
Yeah.
slowly making it harder for bands on the non-existent to just below the crossover. That
Yeah.
whole big old group of us. It makes it
Yeah.
harder for us. I literally don't do anything for work right now. I do music. I try to do live streaming. But
Yeah.
I'm 43. I need a teenager in my life to show me how to work half the stuff that I have in my home studio. I try to get on. I'm like, can you hear me? And I'm like too close to the thing. I'm not equipped to be my own producer.
It's literally how we started off. I was like, "Hey, Paul, can you hear me?" I'm all, yeah,
Right.
you know.
But I was laughing with Scott Bartlett also because he started doing some live streaming, and him and I,
Yeah.
my fiance calls it the Gen X face, where you start the camera and you're like, is this on? Hello, hello, So it's like we just mouth breathing at the camera and go, oh hey everybody, all right, cool. So
Oh my
that's how
God,
I
that's
feel
awesome.
most times.
Paul McCoy of 12 Stones has joined us today. And I'm blowing snot bubbles. I'm spitting all over the place. Man, we had some really serious moments, but ending it on a light moment like that and making me laugh my ass off is just the way that I needed it for today.
Yes, indeed.
Paul, first off, I hats off to you for living your life. Well, hats off for still being alive. I know, man, you
Yeah.
came up in a time where you guys just destroyed yourselves. I'm so proud of you for finding that sobriety. 7 years, 7 freaking years. Yes, that is awesome. Incredibly proud of you and everybody else out there that's battling and currently winning that battle against those demons. Um, but thank you for writing the songs and the albums like Anthem for the Underdog that meant so much to us. That we could all relate to. That we could have those moments with the music. Um, you're part of that last great era, like you said, of getting the albums, going through the liner notes, or going to the store to buy it, doing a midnight CD release party or something. It's it's the you're a member of that last great era. So it's been an honor talking to you today, but more than anything, it's been incredibly uh, nourishing for my soul. It really has. I've learned a lot about you. I've learned a lot about what you go through in life, and it's helped me as I'm processing the same thing and trying to do this. I'm 5 years behind you, so it's I feel like you're setting an incredible example for people like me and so many others that are on this same journey with you. So thank you so much, and I appreciate it.
My pleasure. I'm happy that a little bit of our story and a little bit of our lives can be beneficial in any way to anyone that's looking for it. So if you're out there and you're struggling with anything, it's a new time. Don't be ashamed to to speak up and
Yeah.
find somebody that knows how to help you. Because you know, the
Yeah.
thing is, I don't know how to help me. I can try. I
Yeah.
like to do everything myself. I like to just be like, I'll figure it out. This is one that I couldn't figure out. So I'm newly into trying some new steps to right some wrongs and to
Hmm.
get some wires plugged back in where they're supposed to be. And
Right.
then
Well, I can't wait till I hear the album and/or song titled "Unfinished Business." Paul McCoy of 12 Stones, much love and respect, and thank you so much for joining us on Loud and Unfiltered.
man, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. How do I